All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining today. I'm Ryan Bickham. I am your host of our Q3 product update webinar. We do these once every quarter to give our customers, prospects, or anybody else who's interested an idea of what we're going to be working on the product side at SIFT. So really appreciate you joining. And if you ever want to come to any of these webinars, we'll do them every quarter. So always keep an eye out for any of the things that we have coming up. And this is a good way to get updated on SIFT. I'm Ryan. I'm your host. I lead product here at SIFT. If I've never met you before, it's nice to meet you today. And if you ever have any suggestions for our product or have any ideas or have any questions, you can always reach out to me or our support team. So today, just a couple of ground rules here. Please use the chat section or the Q&A section to answer any questions. I'll try to keep an eye on things as the webinar is going, and you can always interrupt me to answer any questions. We don't have a ton of people here, so I'm happy to jump in and answer any questions that you might have during the webinar itself. We will have a couple of open-ended questions, poll questions today, so please answer those as well. If you have any thoughts or input, we always love your input. And then we'll also be sending a recording out of this webinar later on within the next 24 to 48 hours. And as always, today we'll be just going through kind of what have we released lately, what are we releasing coming up in the future. And today we do have a lot of things that we're working on currently. So really excited to show you all the things that we're working on and get your input. So the biggest thing that we released last quarter in Q2, this was released a few weeks back, was these extended org chart cards. So this new org chart card design will allow you to add additional attributes to your org chart. So in the past, you were only sort of allowed to add a very limited set of things to the org chart. So it was kind of a static view of all of your different attributes in your company. But now you can kind of go inside of your admin dashboard and configure these specific sort of sections to add in the middle of the card. So this kind of gives you flexibility to add anything to your org chart cards rather than only those traditional static attributes. So this is a really exciting thing that a lot of people asked for. So any sort of thing that you have here, so employment type or phone number or department or anything else that you want to add to your org chart cards, you're now able to do so. We are going to have, I think we actually have a dedicated slide for this in a moment, but we are going to be having a sort of full walkthrough of this feature in about a week from now, which I think that our marketing head, Aaron, is going to post in the chat. But if you're interested in learning exactly how to use this feature, you can attend that webinar. We'll be doing a full walkthrough from sort of an administrative side on how to get this set up. This is available today, though, so really all that you need to do to use this feature is click this card content button at the top of your org chart, and you'll see like many additional options versus what you used to see. So back before, there was just a sort of drop-down menu that you could turn on or off a couple of things, but now you'll see this larger dialog where you can have a lot more options for your org chart cards. The other thing that we did earlier last quarter was we removed the constraint to having an email address in SIFT for your imported people. So this is a bit of a smaller one, but in the past, we required email address to be present on all of your records when you imported them into the system. And now you're able to shut this off. So you're able to import sort of profiles for people who you do not intend to have sign into SIFT. We still require an email address if you want to invite a person to use our system. But if you just want to import like a card for the org chart or a profile page for somebody like a contractor, somebody who you don't intend to log into the platform, or you want to like import like a dummy card on the org chart that doesn't really mean anything, you're able to not have email as a constraint. If you're a newer customer, like by default, we don't require email for people to be imported, but if you're an existing customer, there is kind of a setting on your admin dashboard that you kind of can like opt into this new behavior of requiring it, just because we didn't want to have anything sort of break or weird behavior from before when data was being imported. And yeah, this is our webinar that I previously mentioned. So Tim, who is our head of customer success, who many of you may have met, will be walking through that org chart card customization feature. So if you're interested in that walkthrough, feel free to join. It'll be quick, just like this webinar is. We try to keep our webinars under 30 minutes because we know everybody's busy and doesn't have a ton of time. So please join that if you're interested in learning more about this functionality. So now for the future things that we're working on, we have a lot to go through today. Like I said, so very excited here. Couple of sort of lower lift things first for the org chart. So one thing that we're currently working on is being able to show dotted line reports directly on the org chart. So today, for the dotted line reporting feature in SIFT, if you use that, we have this little box that indicates the number of dotted line reports somebody has, and you can click on it and look at those dotted line reports in kind of an overlay. With this update, we're going to be now displaying these directly on the org chart so you can see them without clicking into that overlay, which just makes it a lot more seamless and makes it look like these people are actually reporting to that person, and it's a little bit less of a disjointed experience. You will be able to opt in or out of this feature, as you can with a lot of features in SIFT as well. So if you don't want this behavior to happen, you don't have to. But as a reminder to create these dotted line relationships in SIFT, you can do so directly on the org charts. You can also allow every single person in your company to create them if you would like. You do not need to allow people to do that, but you're allowed to do so. And this is for any of those situations where a person might officially report to one manager, but maybe they also report to another manager on a project or something else. So this kind of allows you to have the same person in the org chart twice reporting to two different managers if you'd like to. The second thing that we're doing is allowing you to have some alternate sorting options on your org chart for the direct report cards. So today, underneath like a leader on the org chart, when you see like a row of all of their direct reports, it'll sort them by their name by default, but this is going to allow you to sort by something else. So you could sort by job title, you can sort by full-time, part-time status, or anything else. And in addition to this, we're going to kind of be creating this like new settings dialog that'll sort of consolidate some of our functionality all into one spot, because we're kind of getting to have a lot of settings here and we wanted to put them all in the same place. So that dotted line report visibility that I mentioned will also be here. And then the org chart orientation setting, which does currently exist, but is hidden behind this three-dot menu, will also exist here. So you can change the org chart to go from top to bottom, or left to right, or bottom to top, and you'll be able to do all of that within this new settings dialog. We're also releasing a direct integration into Workday, which we've been working on for about a quarter now. At this point, this is close to being done. So we're going to be building a direct API integration into the system. So if you are a Workday user at your company, you can definitely reach out to us once this is done. We will be making this fully self-service within the admin dashboard, so you'll be able to set this up. So it'll just kind of create a lot more of a seamless experience into Workday. So today, if you are using a Workday integration via SFTP, you will be able to opt to switch over to a direct API integration if you would like to. Or if today you're integrating just via Azure AD or something and you'd like to additionally integrate into Workday, this will just make it a lot easier. We are also going to be at the Workday Rising conference in San Francisco in September. Myself and a couple of other members of the team will be there. So if you are a big Workday user, or anybody else at your company is going to that, please feel free to say hello to us while we're there. Yeah, and then the largest feature that we're going to be working on this quarter, which we're really excited about, and I know there was a lot of interest in the last webinar, are roles and permissions. And the gist of this feature is that you will now be able to have sort of pieces of information in SIFT or profiles in SIFT that are only visible to a specific audience. So if you would like to import sort of more private information to a SIFT profile, so this, or an org chart card, this could be something as private as like a salary, but it could also be something a little simpler, just like a personal cell phone number. You'll be able to control the permissions around those attributes. So for example, if you have like salary info and you want to only give access to somebody who's a leader of somebody else to see that info, or if you have personal cell phones and you only want to give access to the IT support department and like a person's leader to see people's personal cell phone numbers, we'll have the ability for you to create fine-grained rules and permissions to see that information. In addition to having pieces of information be restricted, you can also restrict profiles themselves. So for example, if your company has sort of a like American part of your company and a European part of your company, for example, and you only want Europe to see Europe and America see America completely, it's like you could kind of completely hide profiles so they appear as they don't even exist to certain people. We're also going to support that use case. So even if your company has a use case where it's more, I want this department to see only these departments' profiles and not everybody else in the company, we're going to give you that ability as well. And these are kind of the permissions that we're starting with. The use case that we see the most often for this when we talk to our customers is the sort of, I have more private information that I would like to show on this SIFT profile only to a certain piece, a certain subset of individuals. So that's what we're prioritizing at first. But this system is going to be very flexible, where in the future we can do things like in the admin dashboard only give certain people access to do certain things or restrict different things in the rest of our application. So we're really excited about this. And then once this is out, we'll obviously communicate with you all. And if you have any additional functionality as part of this that you would like to see, you can obviously let us know as well. And then this is more of a future state thing that is going to be coming maybe in Q4 or even next year. But we're working on some ideation exercises and with a couple of customers on expanding our org chart functionality to create nodes that are not people. So the biggest use case that we hear in regards to this is something like I want to put sort of business units on my org chart and not just people on my org chart. So I want to see, for example, hey, like this department is underneath this department, this team is underneath this team, but I don't want to sort of use people to represent that. I want to use like boxes that represent those business units to represent that. So we're going to be working on bringing this to life, and this will sort of have sort of integrated functionality into Sift pages as well. So if you create a box on your org chart for like the user experience business area, you would be able to click into that box and see like a profile page for that business area as well. So this would just kind of allow you to create org chart visualizations beyond just the one that is automatically created via your data. And this will also open our system up to creating org charts within Sift itself. So like today we really just create your org chart based on your official data, and you can do some additional things like create those dotted line relationships, create open roles, but there's no way really today to create a separate org chart in Sift specifically. But the idea here is you might be able to create an org chart for a specific department or a specific project that would give you a visualization into that sort of function. And even here at the top of this screenshot, as an example, we have like a business process. So this is like another thing we're thinking of. If your company has kind of like a sort of work items that like different teams or departments are working on, you'd be able to kind of visualize that on the org chart and then create different nodes to represent who's working on those different things. And then for each of these teams on the org chart, you'd also be able to highlight sort of who is the leadership of that function and how many people exist within that business area. Yeah, so with this sort of brings us to our first question is like, would your organization benefit from being able to visualize different teams and their hierarchy on the org chart? And if even if like this specifically doesn't call out to you, is there anything kind of else that you would like to visualize on the org chart that you cannot today? Give that a couple minutes. I see some people typing, so I'm gonna wait so I can answer. Austin says, I think we would definitely benefit from this type of visualization. We have a number of teams that are not necessarily tracked in the system that would be good to see something like this. Yeah, for sure. Appreciate that, Austin. Great. Thank you. And then I guess just as kind of a follow-up question, not even org chart specific, is like we do like to ask in these webinars, are there any additional features in Sift that you do not see today that would be beneficial to your organization? And if you can't answer now, obviously feel free to send a follow-up. Is anything else that you'd like to ask me while we're all here about anything else? Permissions for people to create pages. That's a good one. Yeah, Ryan, I think that is on our roadmap as well. Sort of people could go in their own profile page and just like type the name of a page and it would automatically create that for them. So we do have that on our roadmap. And if you want to send me any other detail, I'm also happy to follow up with you on that as well. Any plan to get those tags like what I'm working on and reach out to me for so they are globally pickable. So if I add Workday to my reach out to me for, then it becomes an available tag for others to pick if they're also involved in having those tags appear in type ahead while searching. This is already possible, Austin, actually. It's a configuration. I think it's actually possible to configure on the admin dashboard. If it's not, I can look at your site after this and make sure. But yeah, this is already possible. There's like an option that you can elect to opt into that says, hey, like if somebody, and this is true for everybody, for all of our autocomplete related items on the profile, you can kind of opt in to say if anybody enters a value, then like future people who enter a value can also autocomplete from those values. So this should already be possible, Austin, but I'll let you know if it's not. All right. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Great. Yeah. So I ran through those I ran through this pretty fast. I'm a fast talker, as you probably noticed. But anyway, thank you all for joining today. If you'd like to get involved with SIFT or ask anything of us, like I mentioned, you can always go to feedback.justsift.com. We have a feature request board there. And please follow us on LinkedIn as well. We would love to get more of a social presence. We would love to have you there. And we'll always post any of these future webinars that are coming up as well. And please also leave us a review on G2 if you get a chance. We love to hear back from our customers on how SIFT is doing and how we can improve things for you. So thank you so much. If you have any other questions, feel free to stick around and ask them. Otherwise, thanks for joining, and I'll see you at the next one. Thanks, Austin. Appreciate it. All right. Bye, everybody. Have a good day.